write to you now, but I do not write from my room, with a bed so soft and the window so bright. I do not write from my home, with couches so comfortable and food so good. Oh, food, how I miss it. Water, too. If I could get one drop, oh, how I would thank God. Well, I'd thank someone for it anyways. I do not write from my treehouse among friends so dear and chirping birds so near. I do not write even from the world you live in, no, I write from a place much, much worse. It's ironic because during my last moments in the world, I couldn't imagine any sort of place than the place we call Earth. I thought such a place couldn't possibly exist. How wrong I was. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Patrick, and for you to understand my train of thought, I'll need to take you back a little. Back to the world, God, your God, no longer mine, put me on. Oh, the 80s, what a time to be alive. Great movies, great music, somewhat, great friends, great family, great house, great life, sorry, I'm rambling. 11 years old, that was me, living in a suburban home with my mother, Sarah, my dad, Vincent, my asshole 13-year-old twin brothers, Darren and Bryce. And of course, my 5-year-old sister, Nancy. Come to think of it, I wonder how she's doing right now, sweet little Nancy. She was always so precious, so innocent. I hope what we went through together never changed that. Anyhow, I can remember the day so clearly. I was playing a basketball game of 2-on-1. I was the one with Darren and Bryce, the two jerks were craving me, of course, never hasting to shove me around and taunt me. Patrick, you're ass at this, they would say. Well, of course I was ass. I was an 11-year-old playing 2-on-1 against two 13-year-old pricks. Actually, you know something? I'm gonna stop calling them names. See, when you're on Earth, it's easy to call your family members names and quarrel with them constantly. Where I am now, though, I'd give anything just to hug them for 5 seconds and tell you how much you love them. Oops, I'm rambling again. Well, soon enough, our mother called us in, as we were having some guests over that night. Our new neighbors. The new neighbors in questions were the Hoffmister family. Up to that point, all I heard my brothers say about the Hoffmisters were things like, they're creepy as shit and weird as people who gotta go. I didn't share these opinions, they seemed like okay people to me. Nonetheless, the Hoffmisters came over that night. The family consisted of three. First there was 60-year-old Eileen, a skinny woman with short grey hair, always wearing black dresses. Next we had none other than 60-year-old Leo. Something-year-old Leo. Don't really remember that bastard's age, nor do I care to. Also extremely thin with a long nose that would make the pasty white guy on the Pink Panther show jealous. And there was David, their 11-year-old insecure adopted son. I'm pretty sure Leo and David are in the same place I'm writing from right now, but I'm not certain. See, we don't really get to speak with anyone here. Anyways, it was quite an eventful evening. Eileen and Leo had tea with my parents while Darren, Bryce, David and I hung out in our treehouse, playing cards. In the treehouse I started to get to know David a little better. I must say though, he seemed a bit on the weird side. It was pretty awkward when it came to discussing things such as where he moved from or what life at home was like. Still, he was a nice kid, just very shy. Later that night, when the sun went down, my brothers had already gone home, and David and I were walking down our street's lamplit road. That's when he invited me to his house for a bit. It was a Friday night, so I figured it'd be okay. Let me say this, his house was big. It was the biggest in the neighborhood, down at the end of the street, sitting on a hilltop, as if it were better than all the others. Behind it was a large field that eventually merged into some woods, its line the horizon. Entering David's house, we walked into his kitchen, where he told me to take his shoes off, as to not upset his parents. I heard some footsteps upstairs, so I figured his parents must have gotten back from my house. We sat down at his counter, eating yogurt, with David continuing to dodge my questions about his home life or just life in general. All I knew was that he was adopted. Soon enough, I heard Eileen upstairs. David, come home, please. she said. David told me to stay put, as it'd only be a minute. And just like that, he was gone. I sat alone in their kitchen, finishing off my yogurt cup. I decided to get up and look around to keep myself busy while David was upstairs doing whatever the hell he was doing. Looking at the fridge, I got a look at some of the pictures that were magnetized to it. This included family photos, the grinning faces of Eileen and Leo, and the frowning face of David. Why did David look so unhappy in all of these photos? Oh, and another thing. There was a photo of a fridge, on their fridge, of some kid sitting on the floor of what looked like a cellar, just staring up at the camera with a blank face. Strange. I then walked over to a shelf in their living room, which was stocked with framed photos and figurines. Lots of self-portraits here, including one of Eileen, her expression blank, eyes looking very cold and lifeless. For some reason, it kind of reminded me of this portrait I'd seen once of the famous cowboy named Buffalo Bill. Same sort of stare and expression and whatnot. Anyway, sorry, I don't even know why that came to mind. I started looking at some of the figurines on the shelf. A Mickey Mouse doll, a monkey doll, this creeped me out, and a pentagram necklace. Oh, and there was also a crucifix necklace, but the cross was upside down. What idiot messed that up, I thought to myself. I then realized that David had been gone for a while, and I was getting a little bored with looking at people's decorations. I decided to go upstairs and find him. Walking up the stairs, I began to hear some weird noises coming from one of the rooms upstairs. It sounded like chanting, and as I got to the top of the stairs, I confirmed that it was. I looked down the upstairs hallway of the Hofmeister home and saw that one of the rooms had a light on inside. The door opened just a crack. As I walked toward the door, I could clearly hear Eileen and Leo chanting in some weird language I'd never heard before. I slowly crept toward the room, a decision I regret to this day. I pushed the door open slightly, just enough to see Eileen and Leo on the floor on their hands and knees, bowing down to something that was just out of my view. I didn't open the door any wider than I already had, even if it meant satisfying my curiosity to see in what places they were bowing down to. From my point of view, I could see a small cauldron filled with a steamy liquid. Leo was blowing cigar smoke and spitting rum into his bowl. The whole atmosphere in the room was different. I don't know how to really describe it. It was like I could feel the presence of someone else in there, but I couldn't see them. Then I saw David in the back corner of the room, curled in the fetal position, bawling his eyes out. He looked more terrified than anyone I'd ever seen up to that point. Now it's a different story. David's terror only grew when his mother, if you even want to call that awful witch such a thing, stormed over to his corner of the room and grabbed him by the wrist, pulling up off the ground in an attempt to get him to bow down to whatever they were bowing down to. I could see his fear grow when he watched Leo pull a rooster out of a burlap chap and chop its head off in a brutal animal sacrifice. Then his face went white with horror as he realized how much trouble he was in when piss began running down his leg and onto the floor. That did it. Eileen began slapping David over and over again, angrily screaming at him. "You never, never, never do that in front of the beast," she screamed. The beating eventually stopped, and David was just a heaping mess in a puddle of his own tears and piss. This was when I decided that it was a good idea to get the hell out. I turned to exit, but in my haste I knocked over one of the many picture frames that lined the desk upstairs. I winced when this happened, knowing that it was about a 99.99% probability that the devious couple down the hall heard it. I rushed down the stairs as quick as I could, nearly tripping myself. I didn't care, I just wanted to get out. Still, poor David, I wish I could have done something to help. Grabbing the door handle, I prepared to make a hasty exit out of the front door of that dreaded house. Then I stopped dead in my tracks. Holy shit, please tell me. Yep, my shoes were still in the kitchen. I ran for dear life toward the kitchen, locking onto my shoes like a missile. I grabbed them. Yes! Hello, Hello, Patrick. No. I looked up to see Eileen, standing on the upstairs balcony, looking down over me with an overly friendly expression on her face. I was frozen in place. Do I run? No, that would just look stupid. Also, she'll know what I saw those creeps doing up there. Hey, I managed to mutter out. I didn't realize you were still here, said Eileen in a much too friendly manner. Oh yeah, sorry, I said. No need to apologize, she said. But it is getting quite late. You should get home. Don't need your parents coming over here now, do we? No, we don't, I thought to myself. I managed to stammer out some stupid reply before saying goodbye and rushing to their front door, bursting out of it. I'm never going back there, I thought to myself, if only that were true. As I ran home, I looked back at the house, and what I saw chilled me to the bone. In one of the bedroom windows was Eileen, just standing there, staring at me. When she saw me look, she raised her hand and waved. That was it. She knew what I saw. Damn it. Well, I ran home as fast as my feet could take me. I immediately told my brothers. Told them about the beatings, the chanting, the cauldron, and Eileen repeatedly addressing someone or something in the room by the names Beast and Lucifer. While my stupid brothers proceeded to spread the story around the whole entire school until everyone knew. Everybody knew that David's parents were the freaky witches at the end of the street. Exaggerated and blown out of proportion, the story spread like wildfire. David refused to talk to me, knowing it had to have been me who spread the rumors. I felt horrible for him, but I didn't know what to do. I was too afraid to get the police or child services after what I saw at that house. I was too young to know that was what I had to do, and that it was no choice. Alright, this is the end of part 1, and I'm going to make more parts of this really awesome creepypasta. Hope y'all enjoyed, and peace.